Okay, so today I want to talk about fake MRI scenes and the Final Destination 2025 movie. Um, and I want to talk about this because, believe it or not, I have had so many patients talk about this. They're asking, so have you seen the Final Destination movie where this guy is being bent backwards and killed in the MRI machine? And I'm like, maybe I need to see. I do need to see it, but at the same time, I didn't see it, and it was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. This could be a very old movie and whatever. But I did have to look at it. I didn't watch the whole movie, but um, I did see the MRI scene that they were talking about, and you can tell the patients were thoughtful enough to ask the question, pop the question, and it is a little bit of there is a little bit of concern when they are almost believing that the MRI scenes can be partially true. All right, so there is, by the way, some truth to it, but this is overly exaggerated. Okay, so now in this video, I'm not really going to show any pictures because I don't own the rights to the Final Destination movie, but I can talk about it. Okay. Um, that being said, let's just get on with this with the first thing I want to talk about, the MRI turning on randomly. Okay, so in the movie, the MRI machine activates on its own while Eric, right, and Bobby, the brothers, um, are in the room. Okay, in reality, MRI scanners require deliberate operation by trained technicians from a separate room, which is called the control room, with strict access controls. Some of them have key cards, swipe systems that allow people to go into the MRI suite. Okay, so an unauthorized startup is highly difficult, almost impossible, to be honest with you. So the MRI machine is not going to turn on randomly, first of all, because it's always on. And that is one thing that most people don't know. Just because you don't have a patient, it doesn't mean that the MRI magnet is not powerful. It's always powerful, it's always on. Okay. Number two thing, or the second thing I want to talk about is the magnetic field increasing to 7 Tesla. Okay. That was actually fun to see, to be honest with you. And it's fun because I wish it was like that. Um, but it's not. In fact, I could even argue that sometimes I wish it wasn't that powerful. And instead of increasing it, we can decrease for some patients. But um, the scene depicts the MRI's magnetic field ramping up to an extreme 7 Tesla. Now, extreme is a good word, right? So causing the chaos. Now, the real MRI scanners operate at a fixed field strengths, okay? Typically 1.5 or 3 Tesla. That's how you measure the MRI's magnetic field power. Okay, so it's either a 1.5, which most people have, most hospitals, and or 3 Tesla. Okay, and that is for approved by the FDA for clinical use. 7 Tesla, what they are showing in the movie, is for research, and it is not FDA approved. It's only for research studies. So a 7 Tesla does exist, but not that you have not you're going to see in your lifetime probably. because a 1.5 Tesla is just good enough. That you don't need a 7 Tesla for that. Okay, and if your office is one that you like and you go to and they have a 1.7, that means they just spent about 1.5 to $2 million buying that 1.5 Tesla only. It's not going to increase or decrease. It's gonna stay at that fixed Tesla level. All right, and same thing for the 3, and same thing for the 7 if they have one. So that cannot dynamically increase power like a slider. All right, you can just decide what patient or what study qualifies for a 5 or 6 or 7. No, it does not work like that in real life. Okay, the magnetic field is always on at that strength. Okay, and it doesn't fluctuate during operation. So there's another thing you should know. Unrealistic metal projectile behavior. That, by the way, is great for movies, but just doesn't work like that. Metal objects like a wheelchair, vending machine coil that we all saw in this movie, fly into the MRI and impale the characters. While MRI magnets can attract ferromagnetic objects, they stick to the machine's bore entrance. Okay, what people see like the tunnel, right? That's the bore, rather than grinding or penetrating inside as shown in the movie. All right, the vending machine coil spinning and impaling Bobby is exaggerated for dramatic effect. Now, exaggerated um, before a metal object gets stuck to the MRI bore, it will make some movements, right? Until it's set without having to move, it'll want to go for where it is attracted the most. So the wheelchair, a hospital bed, an oxygen tank will wobble a little bit before reaching the final destination. No pun intended there, but now targeting people inside the MRI room, and no, it's not going to do that. Okay. Now the other one that I want to talk about is the piercings being ripped out. And this is a good one because most people think that, oh, this is just a piercing. I can't take this piercing out. I haven't taken it out in so and so years, which is, not very good for you, but whatever. You can do whatever you want with your body, right? But the thing is, the truth to the matter is, piercings cannot be ripped out unless it's just like barely in your skin. So that will fly away, right? Because it's a metal, but it's not going to rip you out. All right. The thing we are more concerned about is something being a projectile and you actually getting hit with it. Okay. Or because it'll, um, bang inside the bore for a little bit until it doesn't, right? You can actually get that into your eye or into your nostrils. And now we're concerned about your breathing. Okay, so that's why we don't want any loose metals in the MRI. But piercings are not going to be ripped out. Um, in the movie, though, Eric's piercing ears, nose, nipples, and others are torn out by the MRI's magnetic field. All right, most piercing jewelry is made of non-ferromagnetic materials. Okay, um, like titanium or surgical steel, which are not attracted by MRI magnets. Okay, even ferromagnetic piercings would stick to the skin or machine, but like I said, all right, not rip through tissue as depicted. Now, the wheelchair crushing Eric uh, is shown bending and piercing Eric's body, crushing him into the MRI. In reality, the wheelchair might be pulled toward the magnet and pin someone. That could actually happen, but it wouldn't bend into a weapon or crush body into the scanner narrow bore. This defies physics and MRI design. If you're small enough and the wheelchair comes at you, it'll hit you. All right, you may die from the actual, um, hit to the face, for example, or to the body. That can happen, but it's really not gonna do much of anything after that. Okay, so let's be mindful about that. Uh, the wheelchair is not gonna kill you instantly or bend you. Um, a hospital bed, because it's bigger, it might do or it may cause more severe damage. That can happen to you, but not nothing too crazy. And I'll talk about two cases that I do want to make a point on about the wheelchair in hospital beds. Unsecured MRI room access. Uh, the brothers casually enter the MRI room with a wheelchair and other metal objects. The real MRI suites have strict safety protocols that most patients complain about, including locked doors, warning signs, and multiple staff checks to prevent unauthorized entry or objects. Okay. Uh, let's see. No pre-screening for metal. The scene ignores MRI safety screening. Okay. Patients and visitors are rigorously checked for metal, um, say jewelry, implants, and we stress this a lot. And patients always they get frustrated, and then they get mad at you for asking the same questions over and over again. Patient questionnaires always asking the same questions, but this is why it's important, okay? Because we don't want to lose metals flying into the MRI room and causing you harm. So questionnaires and ferromagnetic detectors before entering the MRI suite. Um, Eric's multiple piercing would have been caught by anyone, all right, and Bobby's wheelchair wouldn't be allowed near the scanner, okay. So it's and also the MRI scanner is in like almost a public waiting area. MRI suites are more hidden for a reason, okay. The exaggerated magnetic field expansion. Now, the movie shows the MRI's magnetic field expanding to pull multiple, right, objects from outside the room, like the vending machine coil, right? In reality, the magnetic field is strong near the bore, so near the center of the bore, um, and weakens rapidly with distance. Okay, that is called the inverse square law. It wouldn't pull heavy objects from across a room or hallway. All right, so if you're like far away, like 10, 15, 20 feet from it, it's not going to do much of anything. But if you do leave a wheelchair unattended and a hospital bed unattended 20 feet today, tomorrow is going to be at 18, the next day is going to be 16. By the time days are going by, the object is going to be closer because it's going to be constantly pulling in into the MRI room, but it's not just going to happen instantly. Okay, that is one good point I wanted to make. The lack of tech oversight. No staff notice or intervene as the MRI activates and chaos ensues, right? In real hospitals, MRI suites are monitored by radiographers or, widely known as techs from a control room. And any anomaly, like unauthorized entry, would trigger immediate shutdown or response, okay? Now, we don't ever want to do that because it's going to cost a lot of money. But in an event like that, yes, we have to shut it down. And there's a way to shut it down, by the way. So the over dramatized death mechanics, right? The scenes, deaths, Eric being folded backward and impaled, Bobby's skull pierced by a vending machine coil, they're all just Hollywood fabrications. while MRI accidents can be dangerous, like the Colombini case in 2001, where an oxygen tank caused a fatal injury to, I think it was like a 4 year old or something like that. That happened. I can talk to you about that in a different video, because that is actually a very important video I should want to talk about. And also the 2025 Long Island incident. All right, this just happened in July, I think. July 2025 Long Island incident involving a man pulled by a gold chain. He had a 20-pound gold chain around his neck, and he was fatally. I don't think he died from a stroke to his body, but he died soon after that. Probably, I think he had a pacemaker also. So I don't know the details yet, but I will look up the details and do a video about it too. So thank you for watching. But like I said, it's all the things you saw in the movie, make it technically impossible um, to happen in real life without a trained personnel um, present. Okay, so thank you for watching. Subscribe.